Almost anything that could be kicked over, broken, was destroyed. This was all boarded up.
I'm true to what I do.
New York bounces back like it always has.
It's really nice to see life coming back to the neighborhood.
They don't want to know. Here's the residual effect of the riots.
Absolutely.
We
It's no
agree.
fight.
It somehow becomes the inspiration for so many people. It seems to have a soul.
Millions, 3 floors.
Almost frightening, especially for a New Yorker.
And I'm trying to do a little poetry, and I'm trying to get something to eat.
New York City, COVID times. Today we're gonna meet with a local named Frank. And Frank has lived and worked in New York City the majority of his life. And Frank's gonna show us the dramatic changes that have been taking place in the city since the start of the pandemic. Frank.
How you doing?
Good, bro.
Welcome to New York.
Thank you.
Sorry to get you up so early.
No, it's nice.
Yeah.
Normal Saturday morning, this is packed.
Packed. And during the week, this is impossible. There'd be lines of cars. There'd be cabs 3 blocks deep.
And an excellent true because you're the future of now, and your birthday's coming up with this around the corner. Mine's already here. I made 63, and I'm trying to do a little poetry because I'm trying to get something to eat. And so you know, just cheap prosperity, you a nice man.
So this is the kind of guy I love.
Because you know why?
This is my brother.
You're not from Texas. You're from the land of wild.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
so you know,
yeah, take that, but let me have that because just in case somebody gets stupid.
that's life. And you too.
Now you would think this is staged.
Because I'm 5 alive with you.
Take care, man.
I'm 5
What's
alive.
your name?
My name is Fred Thompson, Katie's son. I'm from 112th Street, St. Nicholas, and I'm a man 63. I made myself through. I'm true to what I do.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, yes, y'all both too. Ooh. Have a good day.
I like that guy.
Good morning.
So
That's what's great about New York, right?
that's what's great about New York. That's the New York theme, you know, is you get to be yourself here.
What's your backstory? What's your history with the city?
I came into construction. I had a scholarship to Pratt Institute for Art.
Uh-huh.
And a professor said, hey Frank, you want to go through life painting naked women? And I was like, sure, you know. And he said, great, then you'll be a starving artist. So what he found interesting was that I drew architecture.
Okay.
And so he suggested that maybe I take it to that direction, and it didn't, and it worked for me. So, so I've been here working since 1979, and it's sad to me that in the last 8 months or so, this has changed. Just turned on a dime. Just you can't even believe that that could happen on its own.
So what are the big changes?
Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you some things. We walk down 8th Avenue, you will actually see boarded up buildings, mainline stores, Dwayne Reed, stores, anchor stores that are gone. And this is a busy street. This is the main street between Penn Station and Port Authority.
So what's happened with these?
So just a few weeks ago, well, actually, you can see the residual graffiti that was on the boards.
Right.
This has turned the corner. It looks much, much cleaner. This 6 weeks ago was almost frightening, especially for a New Yorker to walk down this area.
Yeah.
Now we're walking towards the East Village.
We're what, October 3rd right now?
October 3rd, that's correct.
What's, do you feel like the city's versus a month ago is more lively, is coming back?
No, I don't think it's coming back. And the way I judge that is if you go out to Jersey,
Yeah.
and you go into some of these suburban areas where there are parking lots for mass transportation, trains, buses.
Yeah.
The parking lots are 10% full.
Yep.
Even today.
We came over on the ferry, there were like 10 people on it.
That's
Ferry, 300 people.
Try to
10.
imagine. So these are barricades.
Okay.
Police station up this street. Normally this is closed off now.
Uh-huh.
You would see police officers here. This would be a no through traffic area. So they're starting to lighten this up a little bit. And you can still see the barricades are here.
Yep.
And you can look up the street and you can see some police cars. And that's New York. New York is, everyone's private. Everyone's deliberate. They have their own little cause.
Well, as an outsider, I've never lived here. I find it very friendly, honestly. If I go up and talk to people, people are usually cool. They want to talk.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
Like
That's the general demeanor of New York.
It's an island, yes. Everyone's doing their own thing, yes. But I feel like it's also a place you can get some real conversation pretty easily.
You can. Almost anything that could be kicked over, broken, was destroyed. And this is about where it ended. We're coming into the East Village at this point. This becomes a pretty affluent area now. It changed. There was minor destruction from this point on. And it's funny how that happens.
It just sort of stopped, huh?
Right. And
was there more of a police presence or something?
No,
or what?
there's more of, it's almost like this is carved out on a map and said, okay, here's the area we want you to protest in. Because it does stop right here.
Who do you think's carving that out?
Believe what you want. Again, it goes back to, political influences.
Yeah. I honestly feel like, I can't put a finger on it exactly, but I honestly feel like we're getting played as a society right now.
I'd agree with you.
Fully played, because when I was watching America from abroad, like I said, I've lived in Ukraine the last 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm watching it from abroad, scratching my head a bit, and when I'm on the streets, I don't know.
Yeah. I think
Everyone seems, I don't have any problems.
I think there's mixed opinions now beyond the U.S. I think there's still people wanting to come here.
Oh yeah,
Because even with our troubles,
yeah,
there's still nothing like America.
look, I am more appreciative of the States right now at the age of 43 than I've ever been in my life. Ever.
Yeah.
And I was always, grass is greener on the other side. I've seen a lot of the world. I've gained a lot from being in other parts of the world, and I appreciate those experiences. But coming back this time, and I see it through my wife's eyes, who's Ukrainian, she points out things to me that I would never see. There's a great openness here, and you can see it physically, meaning you can walk into some luxury building like we did last night as strangers.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
people are open. Some are closed, but compared to most of the world, you can really crack into people easier here, I find.
And that's always been the culture.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's the beauty of the culture. Where are we now, Frank?
This is East Village.
Okay.
We're
So
coming into the East Village.
this is getting very wealthy, right?
Yes. This is a very affluent area.
How much are one of these places?
Millions.
Millions for
Little brownstone.
the 3 floors.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can call up. That one's for sale. maybe you'll have an interest in moving here.
I mean, the boarded up buildings,
Right.
block
and then
away.
Suddenly it stops, and look where you are. This doesn't even look like New York City.
So why wouldn't the protests come through here? You think you'd create more noise, you know what I mean, with people if you came through a neighborhood like this?
You would think. I saw a small Black Lives Matter protest here. It was somewhat civil. They harassed a few people, but not physically, just, verbally harassed a few people. And then they moved on. But there just doesn't seem to be any trouble right here.
Okay.
And for the COVID issue, you could see the little restaurants all have setups outside.
Right.
So they won't be permitted to do that.
Who lives here in this neighborhood primarily? I'm sure all types, but...
All types. Everyone from entertainers, bankers, any
Politicians?
high-earning people will live here. Yes.
Can
certainly.
politicians afford to live here?
That's a good question. That's like a loaded question. Sure. Most politicians become very wealthy, ironically, in a very short time, and certainly this is where they would live.
Okay.
New York's a living, breathing place, and it somehow becomes the inspiration for so many people in arts, in finance. It just doesn't matter. it seems to have a soul of its own. And when you come here, you feel it. You said it yourself. You find that people want to talk. That's kind of unusual, isn't it? Everybody seems to be connected to this energy that this island produces.
It can bring out your best. Would you say that?
It would definitely bring out your best. It would definitely encourage you to do more.
Yeah.
There's something about the lifestyle and the look of the area. There's something, it really does. It resonates with some part of your soul that tells you to drive forward, do more, express yourself.
Yeah.
You develop your abilities, your talents, whatever they are. This place doesn't discriminate. New York City itself does not allow you to be insecure. It encourages you to be yourself.
So even in these times, you don't feel like that's going away at all?
No, no. New York is still New York City. You'll never change that. Politicians seem to degrade the integrity of this city, and I don't know why. I don't know what the hope is, but
Yeah, what's the reasoning behind that?
I don't know. I guess it's part of that political discussion we had earlier, where it's a movement to weaken this culture and this society, and perhaps flip it to a socialist mentality. I can only think that. I don't have any proof of that, but that's what I think.
You know what I like is everyone's very expressive here.
And that's part of what I just said.
Nobody's really humble. Everyone's yelling on the streets, about their personal problems and whatever.
Every man's an islander.
You live in the neighborhood?
How you
Yeah.
doing?
How are things right now?
Great. It's really nice to see life coming back to the neighborhood.
Oh,
you
it's
know?
coming back,
'Cause I was
huh?
here all along.
Gotcha.
And there were a couple of scary nights with the looting. And then it was just so empty because so many people left. This is a fairly affluent
Yeah.
neighborhood. So it seemed to me like 70% of the people were missing for a while. But now they're all coming back, and they're so glad to be back in New York City, and the kids are back, restaurants are serving. It really helps you be optimistic.
As
Yeah.
you pointed out, there's been a significant change in a few weeks, right?
Oh, yes, enormous change.
It's clean again.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
know.
Well,
organized.
I got a bad shot for that, but they'll get taken out later today.
Yeah, it's the weekend.
But in general, it's clean, right?
Yeah.
not 6 weeks ago.
So this was all trashed up 6 weeks ago.
This garbage would have just been all over the streets.
Ah. So how did you feel as a resident
more
seeing
than
that?
6 weeks ago.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
How did you feel as a resident seeing that happen to your neighborhood?
Oh, well, it was very depressing, of course.
Yeah.
But, one thing about New York is we really do have this we're all in it together
Okay.
feeling.
Yep.
And it really does help us get through things. Oh my gosh. In 65, I was 17. Holy, I mean,
Isn't that a song line?
Yes,
65,
Jackson Brown,
oh,
same thing,
Jackson
same
Brown.
age.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean,
You've
that
seen
was
it all.
something. That was something.
Yeah.
The building I live in, Jimi Hendrix lived in.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You're in the
Actually,
village,
it's really
man.
an
This is the
amazing
village.
story. He lived there when he died. He died on the road. He didn't die in the
Uh-huh.
building. And it was a rental building. So a couple months later, the city marshals came and put all his stuff on the street.
Oh my gosh.
So the
I didn't even know
doorman was
that.
grabbing guitars and everything he could and putting them in the basement. And then a couple months later, his family came and took them all away.
Oh, I was gonna say it's what that's worth today.
I know.
So would you ever leave the city?
No. Where would I go?
See, I told you, she's got a connection to the city's soul. The city lives and breathes, and you just become part of that. And it's really not even explainable.
You feel that the soul here?
Oh, absolutely. Bleecker, let's go. Run. Come on, good girl. Come on, good
What
girl.
about friend Bleecker?
It's like the Beatles, Abbey Road. So Freedom Tower way back there.
Freedom Tower. How big will he get?
Hopefully not that much bigger than he is right now.
Ah, that's great.
Parker, sit. Good boy.
Do you live in the neighborhood?
I do. I live a couple blocks over that
Oh,
way.
cool. How's it been lately?
It's been good.
And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the city has a soul.
Exactly.
It
Like,
heals. It's always good.
no, not the trash, Parker. Yeah, it does. Like it's still Like, it still feels like New York, like, even if people say that it's not.
Right.
Absolutely.
We
It's still
agree.
fine.
A place that will take you back to your natural born gifts. So, so I like to write. I write dark poetry. I write stories. And so there are areas that are captivating. You may walk down the street and find a little park and sit there. And in that moment, there's the light of inspiration. It hits you. And you get your phone out, or you go into notes and you start writing whatever comes to you. That's New York. New York does that. It has a soul, it's a spirit that connects to you. It's an exceptional place. And every culture, every ethnicity, every religion, every political position, it lives here. It's a very diverse place. And if you're open-minded, it's enlightening. Certainly, it is.
Are you always learning?
Always. I read other people's work, and I try not to let it influence mine, but you know, you never think your work is good enough. So when I write, I think I'm writing okay, and you get that little writer's block now and then, but then you pick up something and you read, and you just can't believe that someone else can formulate such a thought and put it on paper so eloquently. And it makes you go, I'm going to do better. I'm going to try to define my voice. I want to be defined like they are. So this is a column that's existed from earlier 1800s. So is this girder, and then this space is pretty much built around the pre-existing brick and mortar.
Beautiful
Very old
space.
building, yeah.
These curved windows here.
Coming back now to Penn Station, and here we are at 30th Street, and again, here's the residual effect of the riots. There's still a street that's closed off for this precinct, and yet you have to ask yourself why they close off the street still to today.
Right.
And it's closed off because there's a threat. There's no homeless. You can see it laying on the streets. We passed one or two here and there. But 6 weeks ago, there may have been 30.
Where'd they go?
Don't know. I don't know where they came from. Because there was never that many. And we're in great economic times. Prior to COVID, right, didn't we have the highest level of employment? And,
Yeah, how was it then? Were there very few homeless, or it's hard to tell when there are more people in the city?
It is very hard to tell. You can't just tell somebody to get up and go to work was a heroin addict.
Right.
You know, what you have to do is get them clean somehow, or find out what their psychological issues are. And
Yeah.
so do they deserve help? Yeah, I would agree. See, that's where I would agree. That's where they need help. This was all boarded up.
So it changes quickly, you're saying?
The only thing that can change that quickly is politics. How do you swing this from absolute destruction to prosperity again?
Wait, isn't politics usually slow? Wouldn't you say government's slow with things?
Only what it wants to be slow with.
Okay.
So here, when you are in an election year and you've chased out your own supporters in fear, what's left? You gotta clean up the place and bring them back.
So the city's got to be losing an insane amount of money every day.
Tremendous amounts of money. People who own real estate are losing money. They have commitments to banks,
Right.
for mortgages and loans, and if you have a building that's only half rented, how do you pay your mortgage? You can walk down here.
Okay.
So art comes from the soul, and we don't know what part of spirituality art is connected to. So in my case, I would see things and draw them. And an art teacher pointed out that he had come to see a picture that I had drawn at 13 years old. And then a month later, he picked up a newspaper and saw virtually the same picture.
Here, hold on one sec. We'll pass this.
From Jamaica, land up in a Subic, checking up the trick card, the password to it. Tell them me career, me a
So, and I asked him, "Is your mom passed?" And he said, "Yeah, she is." I said, "Well, so if you can see your mom, are you remembering her? Or is she with you? Or is it just your imagination?" Which he didn't have an answer for. So I said, "Well, so for me, perhaps, and I'll describe your mom, perhaps I'm seeing her because I'm connecting to some part of your memory. Or maybe I'm seeing her. Or maybe it's just my imagination and I have an accurate imagination. But how would you know?" And he had no answer. So art and vision can be inspired by a spiritual connection. There's some force inside of you that helps you create. For some significant reason, you're creating a film. Right now, there's something driving you to do this. Right? So is it some vision you have in your head? Is there something that motivates you? What's inspiring you to have a voice that people can hear? So it's the same thing. Are you driven spiritually? You know, and these are the questions that people don't often ask themselves. They don't want to know. They don't want to know if they're in touch with a higher spirit or their simple imaginations. I don't think people give themselves enough credit. But we're so taxed with anger and culture, the culture we created here, that I asked the question, who would you be had you ever had the opportunity to be yourself? And you won't ever know that because you're right here in New York City. Some people in New York City come here just for that. They come here to feel this connection, to open themselves up and allow themselves to be who they want to be, who they thought they would be. And there are others who just come here to observe it.
Interesting.
Right? So I suggest to anybody to open up your minds, open up your heart, open up your soul, be who you want to be. We have a certain level of conformity we have to follow. That's a societal rule. But you do get to be who you want to be. For me, I'll express my art, my literature, even the passion by which I sing. It's mine, good or bad.
Can we hear your voice?
We can't. But the point is, like I said, good or bad, it's what I am. Acceptable or not, likable or not, it's just who I am.
Beautiful. Look at this weed weed RV. Check that out. Weed World Candies.
Right, there you go.
Used to be illegal, now it's
But now look at the area we're in now.
yeah.
You see it becoming more of a business area.
This tall one?
Yeah, that was a project that I was on for a while.
You were on it. What do you mean by that?
Well, Tishman actually is building the entire building, and Tishman Interiors is doing some of the floors on the inside. It was stopped for a short time during the height of COVID, and then the permits were restored. We were on site most of the time. It was under construction, so we were considered essential.
Okay.
And had to come into New York City to be on that job.
So you worked during COVID pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
What was the city like at that time down here? None of this, right?
You know, it was eerie. There was this ominous feeling of dread. No people walking around. There was a terrible, terrible moment in New York City. You know, what do they say? The city that never sleeps. And yet, here we were with virtually no one in this park. One of the most famous parks in New York. And it was empty. And, you know, we risked our lives in that sense that we didn't really understand COVID. We didn't know how severe it was. You know, we tried to protect ourselves. We wore gloves, we wore masks. And it was a bad time.
Check this out. Okay, so moving forward though with New York, how will it break out
New
of...
York's a capitalist culture in that, and some of the biggest businesses are right here in New York, right? Everything that's relative to investment, banking, real estate, it's all right here in New York, right?
Right.
So it's one of the biggest capitalist countries in the world.
The city itself is like a
Right.
capitalist country.
If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, right? That was the theme. Because we're talking about you having the free opportunity to exercise your right to be an entrepreneur
Yeah.
and come here and develop whatever gift or business you have. You're in the arts, you're in finance, whatever it is. We said it earlier. Here it is. Here's the place of opportunity. So what if that's taken away? Who could live here? Where would
Stay up with me, Frank. Here, I want you to.
Where would the wealth come from? That pays for. Look where we are. Look what we're looking at.
Right.
Let's turn around and look behind us. Look at these buildings. Who would occupy these buildings? Only wealthy businessmen that are putting you to work can afford to occupy that building.
Mm-hmm.
But what if there was none of that? How
So
would you eat?
But I'm saying, like, you think New York can go in that direction?
Sure.
Since I first met you today, you seem like a very optimistic guy.
I am.
What's your forecast for here? That was sort of a pessimistic look at where things are going.
So my optimism lies in my nature to be a red-blooded American.
Okay.
Love our country.
Mm-hmm.
I love the people and all the ethnicity in our country. I love our Constitution as it is.
6 year or two, say to 5 years, you think it's got some good days ahead? You think New York bounces back like it always has? Or you're worried more about these big macro political issues?
Well, I think
that
it's
could
global,
change it?
right? I think this one world order, global mentality is going to affect our city. Our city is going to seem small and insignificant by comparison to something like that, right? But it's my hope to see that notion is eliminated and that we emerge as we were, as a country with concerns and conflicts and things that have to be worked out.
Yeah.
And a smaller government that will affect change, that will take this city and find that homeless guy and find out why he's there and give him help, get him educated, get him clean, and maybe 2% of them can be helped. We don't know.
Yeah.
I believe in both sides in that there's capitalism, but I don't think you should be sitting home with your Mercedes-Benz parked outside with your $500 sneakers not working all day.
Okay.
I don't want to support that. But certainly, welfare and these food things, and even, child support and all these things that are available to people, you have to know are taken advantage of as well.
Yep.
Anyone would be foolish to think that, that's not being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
But there are people who really do have needs.
Yeah.
And,
So
and we should help. Those are the people that deserve help.
the final words.
That's it. Juan, this is my home. This is what I'm connected to. This is where my writing comes from, my art comes from, my inspirations come from right
Your
here.
building comes from.
My project.
Cool story.
And that's it. I want it the way it was.
Until next one, thanks for coming along. Hope you enjoyed that, Frank.
We'll see you again.
Fist pumps.
Be well.
Boom. Done. I like that, Frank.